Hi, welcome everyone. As we are on another one of our heart-powered inspiring interviews. And every single time I am introducing you to an amazing entrepreneur, speaker, change maker, and a wonderful friend, as she is the lady that I'm introducing you to today. I think we met the first time, Jennifer, about 4 years ago in Florida at a retreat. It was wonderful, and already back then, it was you opened my heart. Every one of our conversations
Aw,
was so inspiring.
thank you.
And to all of you, I've been waiting to introduce you to Jennifer. Her name is Jennifer Yu. She is the president of the Wide Awakening. I mean, that is already, your company title is already a promise in itself, right? And you are the founder of the largest integrative nutrition practice in Canada. And you founded the first mentorship program for complementary entrepreneurs already more than 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And Jennifer is also, she's the expert in practical applied physics. And I know, all the physicians that I know, all the physics people that I know are super smart and always come up with practical things on how to add this extra sparkle to our life. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that. And I know that Jennifer has mentored doctors and executives and thought leaders globally. And her passion really is to make physics practical after she's been working with mystics and scientists and shamans from 8 different countries to free herself of her own struggle with chronic fatigue and self-sabotage. I know this is going to be a really inspiring interview. Jennifer, it's wonderful to have you. Welcome.
I am so glad to be here and thank you for inviting me, my love. I'm so deeply appreciative.
Right, so why don't we just jump right in? As you know, we are running a
Please.
heart-powered business, and we always want to know from everyone, what are your stories and concrete advice and practical hints on what are you doing yourself? Let's jump in, like share with us, like what are your top 3 hints right now to really bring your own business and your own life to the next level?
For me, one of the major shifts that I made is to develop a community of people that that actually have my back. So I used to be very, very independent, and I think it's one of the things that as entrepreneurs we can head towards, being very independent and have it handled. We value that as a society. And what I realized is that my mission is more important than me proving myself. And the instant that I did that, I went out and I sought people that would actually support me in ways that I can't be an expert in everything, nor do I want to be. Plus, it's way more fun to co-create. So the first place is that I go with a tip that made a huge difference for me is transcend the need to have independence disease. you know, just really drop the need to be independent, which is why I love what you're doing, Minnie, because it's just perfect. It's really about not being independent. It's about co-creating together and understanding each other's stories together. So I love that.
Love it. So
And
why don't
then
we, yeah, go ahead.
the second one is around um, actually, so I do this thing based on the laws of physics around leaving space between every chapter of my day. The laws of physics say that there is, it's a space between the atoms. It's going to the land where the physical is not, because where the physical is not is where everything is possible, so that we can find answers that sort of transcend linear thinking. And it's not about meditating. It's actually about going out in nature and the land where everything is possible and being activated or immersed or uh, heartfeltedly connected to an environment that reminds me that everything is possible. And it also resets each chapter of my day. So if I have interviews all morning, then I go out and I connect. Then maybe I have, a luncheon with someone, then I'll go and connect again. Then maybe I'll have, a one-on-one with a client, and then I will go out and connect again. It's like resetting my body so that I don't carry the energy of what just happened with me. made a massive difference to my level of enjoyment of my business and just everything that I do. Um, the last thing is, and everyone knows, no, hopefully everyone out there knows this, find a mentor that already does what, is already successful at where you're headed, that they already have a level of flow that you don't have yet, so that you can be activated or be in their presence and just actually be a witness to how they, there's what they tell you and how they coach you, but there's also, it's not just what they tell you. When you're operating with them, they're actually demonstrating to you what it looks like to have that degree of flow, which for me is just as important. So those are the three things that have assisted me so deeply.
Yeah, every single one sounds like pure magic, of course, and you and I know how important they are. Why don't we dive a little deeper into them? Why don't you share with us like one story or something around a community that holds you back? Like, how is your community holding you back? And, also like some people say, ah, I wish I had a community like that. And we are running the HeartPowered Global Nation, which is actually the community where, everyone
Right.
holds each other's back. But,
Exactly.
how do you build a community like that?
So I believe that it's built through vulnerability. So I remember I was doing post after post after post in my business on social media, and they were all posts trying to teach people, principles, trying to share the wisdom that I'd learned, because I so desperately at that point in my career wanted people to experience the amount of overflow that I had experienced. And I thought, oh, this is how you do it. And it's not how you do it. In fact, it's not how you develop community. Community is developed through heart. Community is developed through vulnerability. It's not developed through positioning yourself as a guru above everyone. How we feel connected to each other is through the stories. So I remember one day doing a post, and I thought, oh, I can't post that. They don't want to hear about, what happened with my mother and breast cancer and all that kind of stuff. That nobody wants to hear about that. Everyone just wants the tools. So that one day, this was, I don't know, 10 years ago, 9 years ago or so, I posted about my process while communing with my mom about her breast cancer journey and assisting her. Not even assisting her, and going through what a mother and daughter go through. It wasn't even about assistance. And she had asked me all these vulnerable questions. And then I asked her, well, what do you feel about it? What do you think the root cause of all this is? She said, I don't know. And I don't even know what you do, Jennifer. So can you share with me what you think? I mean, you've been working with all these people. And I said, there's something around, since it's breast cancer, there's something around, is what I feel, around something you worry about. And she goes, the only thing I worry about is you guys, is her kids. And I said, but you love us. And she was confused. Yeah, I love you. And I said, yeah, but love and worry are two completely different things. And she kind of sat back. And it was the first time I had realized it too, that we often collapse, like I had collapsed love with worry, that love equals worry. And I'd shared the whole story about that. And by the way, the punchline of this entire story is, as a result of my mom and I going through that process, I found out that she'd love me to call her like 3 or 4 times a week. And so I just call my mom 3 or 4 times a week. And it shifted, not that I'm carrying her, because I don't want to worry about her either. I want to. And so I phone her 3 or 4 times a week, and everything changed. Everything changed within her, everything changed within me, even in sharing it with my family. I mean, it was pretty amazing what happened. And so community, so I created a community with my mom. Instead of me being this independent oldest child, I developed a closeness with my mother, and then I shared that with my community on Facebook. And all of a sudden I had, I'm sure I had over 500 or 600 people comment on that post. And I thought, oh, it's vulnerability. It's me sharing my heart. It's me sharing what I've been through that causes the abundance of connection, that causes the abundance of everything else, because love is the one thing that is the common thread through every dimension of physics. And teaching is all mental, it's not heart. So it was a big shift. It was beautiful.
Yeah, sounds like a beautiful past, experience, and I experience it the same way, right? I mean, whenever we open up, whenever we share what's really happening, right? That's when everyone else feels inspired, right?
Totally.
So I love, it's a great story about how to be vulnerable and use your heart to build connection. And community in the end is all about connection, right?
100%.
Right. So yeah, I love that. Like I also love your second point that you made about making space.
Yes.
And how creating space is opening a possibility, right? In business. Maybe you want to share a little story around that, like how, you say like you're going to go out, when you go out, like what do you do? Do you walk barefoot in grass, or do you hug a tree, or what do you do when you go out? And you say it changed so much. So maybe you can start to share a little story around that too, and give some concrete hints. Yeah.
Well, what had happened was that I was constantly in my head trying to figure things out. How am I going to do this? How am I, again, it goes back to that independence disease. And when you actually step into the space where all of consciousness lives, again, you're not alone, because literally you're going into the multi-dimensions where all your innate wisdom lies, all of the guides and angels and teachers that you have live. And so it's a very powerful thing to do, to go and take space. So the first time I did that, I was getting on a plane. I ended up in the middle seat on the plane. And they had told me, they said, just don't think about anything that happens on this plane. Just keep it spacious, keep your heart open, have conversations, move through it fluidly. So when I got on the plane, I saw a dog on my left-hand side. Someone had a dog on the plane. I thought, oh, I'd love to have a dog on the plane. And I snuck my suitcase into first class because there was no space in the rest of the plane. I was joking with people. I went and sat down in the middle seat, and I'm 5'10", so it was very uncomfortable. Then all of a sudden it was pretty funny. Then what happened was I sat down, and the stewardess came up to me and said, it wasn't the stewardess, actually, it was a guy sitting in first class that needed to sit beside the guy that I was sitting beside because they were doing a business deal. And he said, would you exchange seats with me? So I kept leaving space. I kept not judging what was happening. And he was sitting in the front seat next to the dog. And I sat in his seat in first class where my bag already was, and the dog jumped into my lap. So these are the kinds of miracles that start to happen when we leave space. So, and I'm all about having things happen that are way better than what we can imagine. And that was much better than what I imagined, but that happens. I almost expect it now. That's the way life works. So yeah, it's pretty magical.
It is. And I have these kind of stories on airplanes and in so many other ways, right? Again. Yeah. And I have the opposite stories too, where I was resisting. And then think, and it's really interesting. We feel it, right? We feel it if something is light or heavy. But often we are making things heavy.
Yes.
We are bringing it in instead of just letting it flow and letting it go, right? So, I love,
staying in your heart, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's just having fun with the life you have, but taking a break from trying to make something happen and actually unplugging from that, where you just get to be nourished by your surroundings, which is what I was letting myself do on a plane, which I usually wouldn't. Usually I would be trying to find my seat. I'm very serious. So yeah, it's leaving space even in things that you have to do. It was pretty amazing experience that I happened quite a while back. So
Yeah, and I also love, love what you're saying. Like you kind of you end something, like you have a meeting with
yeah,
a client, and then you kind
yes.
of let it go. So what do you do in these let go moments?
Or when we're engaged in with our clients, or we're engaged in whatever creative process with our family, we're generally using our mind, right, to create something. In this case, what we want to do is we want to move into a place where you're you're reminding yourself that there's nothing to do and there's everything to enjoy. And in the reminding of ourselves that there's everything to enjoy, what happens is your body gets into a more creative and open state. And in that creative and open state, you can revisit the next chapter of your day. Like I said earlier, going from, I just had a client, and then after that, you're going to your yoga class or something, and in between those two things, what you do is you reset yourself to the idea that there's nothing to do. There's everything to play with. So the easiest place to do that is in nature. It's the easiest because in nature, really, there's nothing to do. There's just everything to enjoy, everything to experience. Nature, and we were talking about this earlier, we're part of nature. So the reason why going into, a setting with lots of trees or something like that, or setting with a lake, a setting with a desert, doesn't really matter where it is, but a setting where there isn't a lot of humanness happening. By going into a setting like that, you're immersing yourself in an environment where everything happens effortlessly. And we're reminded of our innate state, the way we were born to be, where everything comes to us. And when we reset, what it does is it opens us back up to be able to flourish forward in every chapter. The amount it improves our productivity, I can't even explain to you when I started doing this and deliberately doing it. Oh my gosh. And so what I did was I went into my calendar. I looked at all of the pauses between my clients, the pauses between, chapters. I mean, if I was writing an article for an hour and a half, I would look at all the ends of those different occurrences in my calendar. And then I would just create a 5-minute, I used to just put go out, like just don't be in my office. And so I would go out. And at first I thought, oh, come on, this can't be such a big deal. This can't be something that, come on, can't make that big of a difference. So I did it for 3 days, exactly what I'm saying right now. I just put breaks. Usually I had about 4 of them. And in kind of going out and reminding myself that all is well and everything is supposed to come to me and then coming back in, what ended up happening is I manifested one of the biggest clients I'd ever had in my life. And then right after that, I manifested one of the greatest interviews I'd ever been had. I mean, I had some of the most spectacular things happen just from honoring myself. So such an easy thing to do.
I love it. And you know what? I mean, I'm so with you on that. I mean, I love to be in nature, right? I mean, I love to walk barefoot on grass. I love to hug trees, right? And all of you that are with us right now, okay, if you feel like, oh my God, I would need to take an underground for 2 hours to get out of the city again, it doesn't really matter if you live close to a forest. Okay, it could just also be just step away from your desk.
Yeah.
If you have a plant in your home, just look at the plant, right? If you have something blooming, just look at the flowers, or just switch on some music or something.
Yes, right? Videos
Yeah.
on YouTube. They're one of the greatest things to do is actually to do an amazing, like go on YouTube, look at nature videos, and just there's usually some amazing music playing and some gorgeous nature videos, and you can just sit there and listen to a waterfall or a beautiful stream trickling. And I know it sounds really trite or silly or whatever, but instead it's not. It's actually a reminder subatomically and cellularly that you're part of something bigger than you, and that you are designed to be given to, like that which surrounds us, the water, the sun, the everything you need to be able to live as a human, which goes beyond that. But that's in our design. So it's so good.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. So Jennifer, I could talk to you for hours and hours about this. Even talking about it makes me feel better already, right? And I hope all of you feel this way too, that are with us right now. Okay. So I really, I know this is one of the greatest habits to use. And, all of you, if you're skeptical, try it out. So as you know, Jennifer, yes, it's all about being and not doing. And still, I like everyone that is with us on these interviews to take something tangible away and try something out. So I think I already know what you're going to say, but what is the one action you invite everyone that is with us today to take over the next, today and the next couple of days?
To literally go into your calendar and try just 3 days. Try it for 3 days. That's all. Go into your calendar and do it all in threes. For 3 days, put into your calendar, not half-hour breaks, not hour breaks. I'm talking about, now I did it for 7 minutes. So let's do 7 minutes. 7 minutes, 3 times a day, just for 3 days. And then write down 3 things that happened every night based on doing that you thought were a little bit unusual, like because you created space in your day. And as you collect evidence, my friend Natalie calls that the evidence journal. Collect evidence for what's shifting in those 3 days. And honestly, you should be able to see some things even in the first day. So that is just a wonderful little exercise.
I love that. And I know, Jennifer, everyone feels your amazing energy. And I know that you really create miracles and you get people to really experience themselves in their life in a different way so that also their business flourishes in a greater way. So I know that there's a lot of people here with us today that probably also think like, I want to get to know this Jennifer. I'd like to connect with her. Where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
They can find me at thewideawakening.com/3 days. That's the number 3 days. So, okay. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much for being on with us. Would you like to round it off with a final inspiring thought for everyone that's with us today?
Yes. That the issues in your life are never really the issue. That we make it the issue is really the issue. So the issues that we have in our life, the problems we have in our life are never the problem. It's that we make them, that we give attention to the problem, that expands them as the problem, and that we have the power of consciousness to just face and choice and free will to face a different direction. So
I love that. So true, right? We hold it all in our own hands.
It really, we are so blessed that we have the power of choice and freedom.
Yes. And the good news is it doesn't always mean that we need to do anything.
Nope.
We just need to let it flow. So thank you, Jennifer. Okay, thank you for being on with us for another beautiful, inspiring, uplifting, HeartPowered, inspiring interview. And thank you all that you are with us. So if you're not part of our HeartPowered Global Nation community yet, come and join us. We have amazing members just like Jennifer with us. So you can connect with amazing speakers, entrepreneurs, change makers all over the world. And again, together we're always co-creating, and together we are better. So all of you, thank you for being on with us again this week. And as I always say, okay, use your own power, use the power of your voice, speak up, scale up, and impact the world in a greater way. All the best. We'll be back soon. Keep an eye out. Okay. All the best. And thank you, Jennifer, again.
Thank you so much.